sundry creditor in the balance sheet. So basically, accounts payable is nothing but the payment of the goods and services which is scheduled for at any later date. Right now, it is not paid, it is due after, say, 1 month or 2 months. So basically, this type of goods or services, the goods you have bought or services which you have taken from your supplier, but you are paying this. Paying for that goods or services at a later date is known as accounts payable, and basically it is classified as liability under in the balance sheet and shown under the head sundry creditors. Fine. Then here is and one example, like there is a Max Enterprise who purchased goods worth rupees 1 lakh from Ace Traders. Ace Traders offer a credit period of 30 days. What is this credit period of 30 days? This credit period of 30 days is known as payment terms, which we will cover in our session in detail also, that how we can create a payment terms. So basically payment terms differ from supplier to supplier. Like in this example, payment term that is credit period is of 30 days, that within 30 days Max Enterprise needs to pay to Ace Trader for the goods purchase of worth rupees 1 lakh. So this is what is accounts payable is of that 1 lakh rupees. So here till the date Max Enterprise pays Ace Trader, the amount of 1 lakh will be called as accounts payable and shown as liability towards creditor in the balance sheet. So it's very easy concept. Now, accounts payable process. So the accounts payable process start right after you have decided to procure the goods or services on a credit basis. Fine. So when you procure goods or services on credit basis, your accounts payable process gets started. Now there are some of the following steps or process which most of the business user use, which I have just noted it down here. So let's go to them one by one. Like first process is evaluating the credit policy of the supplier in terms of credit days allowed, delayed payment charges, cash discount on early payment, etc. So you need to evaluate the credit policy. Like you have taken goods or service on credit. So what is the credit policy with the supplier? Like what will be the term of credit days allowed? If there will be any payment charges on delayed payments, then there will be any cash discount on early payments or not. So you need to evaluate all these things in the credit policies. Then after that, finalize the supplier and procure the goods in accordance with the procurement process followed by your business. So you need to follow your business procurement process to finalize the supplier and procure the goods. Then once the goods are received, you need to account the invoice in the books. Then you need to pay special attention to record the due date within which the bills need to be paid. So like what will be the due date for the payment of your invoice? You need to pay special attention to that thing. Then track the bills that are nearing the due date and plan to clear. Accounts payable and the aging report will be great help here. So you need to track the bills which have the near due dates, and you can go for accounts payable and aging report. So this you can create, and this report will help you to track the bills which are near to due date, and you can plan to clear that bills accordingly. Then the next is account the payments made in the books, and it will be good practice to keep a track the invoice against which the payments are honored. So you need to maintain a record of the payments you made in the books, like which invoice has been paid and all. So you need to keep this record as well of the payments. Then send the acknowledgement such as payment advice or any other statement to inform supplier about the payment that is made. So you can just send acknowledgement or any other statement to your supplier, like you have made the payment to acknowledge the same. Then this is the some of the points which are uh, part of the accounts payable process, which one should keep in mind, like credit policy and what is the due date. Then what are the near due dates invoice. Then you should maintain the uh, payment records as well as. So these are some of the steps or points which you need to keep in mind for accounts payable process. Now, taking full advantage of the credit days will help you to manage the cash flow efficiently. But it is easy, but not tracking the tracking and knowing when to honor bill will prove to a disadvantage to the business. So credit days will help you to manage the cash flow efficiently. So you need to it is easy process, but you need to track the honored bill record as well, as otherwise it will be not useful, or it will be like a disadvantage if you're going for the credit days. Fine. So it will help you to manage the cash flow efficiently. So this was accounts payable. So what we have seen, we have just seen what is accounts payable, basic definition, one simple example. Then we have gone through some of the accounts payable processes here. Now, let's start with the first setup in the accounts payable module is of the running of replicate seed data program. So the purpose of the replicate seed data concurrent program is to populate the installed module seeded values so that new organization can use the seeded data. So what happened is whenever you are going for a setup of any subledger, like you are going for AP module or AR module or any subledger module, you need to run this program, because this program will help us to populate the install module seeded value, which you can use for the new organization. The seeded data can be shared between the new organization. So this is very useful to run before going uh, for the subledgers settings. So whenever new organizations are created, running replicate seed data is prerequisite step before you can start working in newly created organization. So this seed data replication program works in two modes. One is single organization, that is for particular business, particular operating unit, and for all organization. This mode applies when the seed data replication program is executed without an operating unit. So if you have an operating unit, you can go for a single organization, that is for particular operating unit you can run, or else you can go for all organization. In our example, when I will take you to the application, I'm going to run for my particular operating unit, that is single organization mode I'm going to show you. Then the concept of the program is that whenever new organization is created, they should have seeded data from all relevant modules for normal integration among the modules. So this is very useful so that all the seeded data are shared across all the relevant modules for integration among the modules. The seeded data is basic data needed to perform basic step when setting up a new organization. So this is a important step. So let's go to the application and see how you can run this replicate seed data program from there. So first of all, as I already said, I'm going to use my particular or operating unit for running this program. So first, let's go to the application login. If there is some issue. I'm taking my EBS GL, that is General Ledger Responsibility, and I'm going to just open my Java form for the further process. Let's take any of the Java form. Basically, I need to take responsibility of system administrator to run this program. So first, I'm just downloading my Java form here, and then I will switch the responsibility to system administrator. Then I am going to show you how you can run this program. So to just close this form, not required. So basically, I'm going to run this program for my operating unit. So let me just show you first my operating unit, which we have created. When we do setup in our journal ledger, when we create primary ledger, at that time there is an option to create operating unit. So you need to configure your operating unit there if you want to run a particular operating unit, the seeded program. So I'm just going to show you my primary ledger and my operating unit in it. So for that, I'm just going to setups. The responsibility is the journal ledger responsibility. Then I'm going to set up. Sorry, financials, accounting setup manager, accounting setup. Now here I will search for the ledger I have created. So this is my ledger, primary ledger, PL Just open it in updated mode. Now if you will scroll down, you can see here operating unit is coming. This is operating units from where you can configure the same. So I have already configured it. I will just open it and show you my operating unit. So you can see OUEBS is my operating unit. So I'm going to use this operating unit further in my AP module. So I'm just going to run my replicate seed data program for this operating unit, that is OUEBS. So first of all, this is very important that you should have operating unit if you're going for particular operating unit run for this program. So now let's move back to our Java form. And now let's just switch responsibility to system administrator. So you need a responsibility of system administrator to run this program. After that, you need to go to view, request, submit a new request, and now search here. I'm just going to search with seed. You can see replicate seed data is coming and it is asking for your operating unit. So as I have shown you, I'm taking my operating unit here. That is OUEBS. Just select it, say OK and OK. Fine, and submit it. So submit another request. No, let our request run. Find it. So you can see it is running. It should got completed. So let's wait so that this program gets completed. So you can see our replicate seed data program got completed normally. And when this program gets completed normally, in parameter one code will generate. You can see this, which indicates it is done in a proper manner. It is completed in a proper manner. So this was the first step, replicate seed data program, which is very important one, so that all the seeded data uh, get shared along the all the modules here. So this was the first thing. Now the next thing in AP setup is we need to create a responsibility. Now what is responsibility? Responsibility is very important thing. It will define or it will help us to access the AP module. Like if a person having responsibility of accounts payable, then only that person can view accounts payable setups and do the thing or perform the task in it. So first we need to create a responsibility for AP module. Then after creating responsibility, that responsibility need to be assigned to the user. Like I'm using user EMP26. So for this user, I need AP responsibility. So first I'm going to create the responsibility and I'm then going to assign that responsibility to the user. Then we need to create profile options. Now what is profile options? They are set of changeable options that affects the way your application run basically. So they are very important. There are various profile options which we need to set here. You can see in this slide, there are various profile options. So we will discuss about them. Let's first create the responsibility and assign it to a user. Then we will come back to this profile options. So let's go to our application. And one more thing, this responsibility creation also requires system administrator responsibility. So I'm going to use the system administrator only. And in system administrator, I'm going to go to the security. And the security, I'm going to go to your responsibility. Then define. Now you need to give name to your responsibility. Like I'm going to give EBS AP. Then you need to give the application, which will be obviously payables. Then responsibility key using EBS AP only. If you want to add description, you can add. It is not mandatory. Then effective date from is coming today's date. That is fine. Then data group. Going to give standard data group here. Then add application payables. Then menu. This is very important menu because when you want to give access of something to a user, this menu plays very important role. So whatever a menu you are giving here, according to that only access will be covered under this responsibility and will be assigned to the user. So very important menu. So the menu for the AP will be, let me search for the same. It will be AP navigate. Let's find. So here it is. It's AP navigate GUI 1.2. Fine, just select it. This is the menu which contain all the access required for this AP setup. Fine. Then there is request group. This is for reporting purpose. So I will take all reports here. All reports payable. So this is how you can create your responsibility. Fine. So the basic and the most important thing here, which you need to note is the menu. Menu should be AP Navigator GUI 1.2, which is very important. All the access here will be determined by this menu only. Fine. So after giving all this information, just save it. So you can see as I have saved, you can just go for Control or S, or you can just save it from here also, from this icon, save icon. So when you will save, this application and responsibility got freezed. Fine, now you have created your responsibility. The next thing is to give this responsibility to your user. So my user is IMP26. So I'm just going to that user and I'm going to assign the responsibility for so the navigation for it will be, you need to go to security, then you need to go to user and then define. And now just click on this torch icon, that is find icon. Just click here and find your user. Just find and say okay. So here you can see all the responsibility assigned to this user. Just click here under this responsibility row and add here your responsibility. That is EBS AP. So here it is EBS AP payables. So I have assigned it, just save the work. So as I've saved this responsibility and application field got freezed and just close this. So we have created the responsibility. We have defined that responsibility to the user. Now the next important thing is the profile options which we need to assign. So in a profile option, basically what we are doing is under this responsibility which we have created, we are assigning first profile option is MO operating unit. So we are assigning or our operating unit to this responsibility. Then there is GL data access set, which is nothing but the primary ledger which we are going to assign to the responsibility. Then these two, operating unit and GL data access sets, are mandatory profile options. Rest, you can say default country, sequencing, numbering, and additional data access set, that is for secondary ledger. These are optional in nature. So first two are mandatory, and the next three are optional. So if you want to set any default country like India or USA for your work, you can just go for that. And then there is sequential numbering. If you want sequential numbering to be used, you can use it, or if you don't want, you just set it as not used. Then there is SLA, additional data access set. So if you are having primary ledger as well as secondary ledger, so you need to link your secondary ledger here in the additional data access set profile option. So basically there are five profile options in which first two are mandatory. So let's go to the instance and let's give this profile option to the responsibility, so that our responsibility and assigning of the responsibility gets completed as a whole. So let's go to the instance. Now for profile options, the navigation is the responsibility system administrator only. You need to go to just profile system. Now search for the responsibility here. Sorry, AP. So here is the responsibility. Just select it and search for the profile option. The first was MO operating unit. So let's search for it. Okay. It's taking wrong one. Let me search it again. It's MO operating unit. MO operating. You can see it's coming MO operating unit. Now just select say OK and find. Now under this responsibility, you need to add your operating unit, that is OUEBS, which we have defined in our primary ledger. You can see OUEBS is coming. Just select say OK and save it. Fine. So we have assigned our operating unit. Now just click on this row of profile options and again click on this find icon for finding another profile options of GL data access set. So here it is, select and find. Now just give here your PL. My PL was PL EBS. Okay, fine. So it is here only. Select and say OK. And just save the work. Now just again go to profile options row and click on this find icon. So the next was default country, optional one, but I'm showing you all the five. Just find. It is default country. Find. Just give the country you want here as default. You can change it also at the later state. But for right now, I'm giving like United States. And save it. Now again, search for the next profile, sequencing, numbering. Here it is. Find. So I'm just giving a sequential numbering is not used. I'm not going to use it. You can fix it as always used, not used, or partially used as per your requirement. I'm using not used. And then the next one is the additional data access set for the secondary ledger. So basically, in my configurations, which I have done for the GL, so I have not uh, created secondary ledger in it. So basically, I'm not able to define any secondary ledger. And as I have already told that these rest three are the optional profile options. So I'm just skipping this additional data access set. But if you have your secondary ledger, you just need to find SLA additional data access set profile and you need to assign your secondary ledger to this option. Fine. So this is how you can assign your profile option. Just save it and close it. So we are done with our profile options as well. So now when you will go to this switch hat, you can see your EBS AP is also coming here as your responsibility. So we are done with the creation of EBS AP. So for the further EBS setup, we are going to use this responsibilities. So it was a very important step. First was to run the replicate seed data concurrent program, and the next was to create this responsibility and assigning the same with to the user with the appropriate profile options so that you can see this responsibility and can configure setups in the AP by using this responsibility. So we are done with this. Now the next setup which we are going to see is of the enter employee. So basically, this is also not mandatory. It is conditionally required. Like if you want to create any expense report and all for your employee, and if you want that employee should receive system generated emails, notification, and all. So you need to enter that employee in the system as well. Basically, this is a part of HCM, but I'm also taking it here, covering it here as a conditional requirement of the setup here. So this setup is conditionally required. So if you want, you can skip also, but I will recommend it to just complete the same so that AP setups also work smoothly here. Fine. So working of the AP setup smoothly, you can just configure one employee here. So I'm just entering one employee. So for that entering employee, as I have already said that it is a part of HCM team. So I'm just going to first give my user responsibility of HRMS manager because only person with this, only user with this responsibility can enter employee. So first we need to go to user and give this responsibility. Then we will create our employee. And then after creating the supply, we will assign in people's field in user page the same employee. So let's quickly do all the steps. So first, go to your application. Now, responsibility will be system administrator only. Then you need to go to security here. Under security, you need to go to user. And under user, you need to go to define. You need to add responsibility of US HRMS manager to your user so that you can create an employee. So just find your user by click on this search icon. Now just click on this add row or new row and add the responsibility, search it. It's US HRMS. So here it is HRMS manager. Say OK, save it, close it. Now go to the switch hat and switch the responsibility to US HRMS manager. Say OK. Now for creating an employee, go to this people, expand, enter and maintain. Now we will create a new, say I'm giving here as a IMP 26 only. I'm entering this user as employee as well, or IMP 26. Last name was mandatory field here. Gender, I'm giving say male. Action is create employment, employee, person type, and you need to save it. Okay, we need to give date of birth as well. So let's give date of birth. Okay, employee. Let's take a date and modify it. So age is coming. Just go to employment. I think I have filled all the required information. Social security number it is asking. Let's give any number and let's save the work. The social security entered in an invalid format. Okay. Basically, it's not saving without social security. It is asking for it. Not entering. I actually I'm not remembering what is the format for it. Let's try once again. So actually I'm not remembering what is the, just wait a second. the inconvenience. So basically, while I was saving, I didn't pay attention. Actually, it was giving a note. It is not an error. It is just informing us that we have not given a social security. So it's not a mandatory field. So I'm just saying okay and saving the work and just closing it. Fine. So this was entering the employee. So first, what we did is we have gone to system administrator. We have given our user and US HRMS manager responsibility. Then after giving that responsibility, we have switched to that responsibility. And then we have entered our employee. Now the next thing is we will again go to system administrator responsibility. Say okay. Then go to security, user, define, search for our user. And in person, you need to give your IMP26, which we have created, and just save it. Fine. So this is how you have entered the employee. So our user, we have created and entered the user in employee user as well. So this is basically all about the enter employee. So first we have assigned the responsibility of US HRMS manager, because without this responsibility, you cannot create a employee user. Then after giving this responsibility, we have created the employee and then we have linked the employee with the user. So we have basically converted our user to the employee user now. So after this step, the next step is inventory organization. So we need to define inventory organization as well. Like an inventory organization is the facility to store and transact item. The organization must define at least one inventory organization and one sub-inventory. So basically, in our PL, there is operating unit, and under operating unit, there is inventory, and under inventory, there can be sub-inventories and locator. So this whole inventory thing and all the setup of the inventory and information related to is basically deal in the inventory module. But we need to create at least one inventory organization here, because when we will move further for the further setups in AP, when we will define the options, there it will ask us for the inventory organization as one of the mandatory field. So we need to create one inventory organization so that we can assign the same in our options. While giving AP's payables option, we can assign our inventory organization there. So for that purpose, I'm just going and creating one inventory organization quickly. So for that, first, that user should have inventory related responsibility. So for that, first we need to go to the our user and give the required responsibility for it so that we can create inventory organization. So let's go to the application now and go to navigation is same, system administrator is the responsibility, security user define. Search for our user. Now add a responsibility here, add a row and just search for the responsibility inventory. And I'm using the inventory vision operation, which is already seeded responsibility in the application. So I'm using that responsibility here. So it is inventory vision operations, USA. So this is already seeded one. I'm using that only. So give this responsibility, save the work. Now for creating inventory organization, switch to responsibility of inventory. Select say OK. Now after switching the responsibility, we need to go to setups. Organization. Under that organization, new. Now we are giving a new inventory organization here. So I'm giving name EBS, inventory organization. Fine. If you want to add location, you can add. We need to first save this work before moving towards organization classification. So I've saved it. I pick the classification. Here it is inventory organization. Enable this. Now go to this others. Okay, again, we need to save it before moving forward to others. Then you can see this for information is coming in additional information like accounting information, customer supply association, inventory information, receiving information. So basically, apart from accounting information, this information, inventory information, receiving information and all is the setup required for required in inventory module. So not required here all these things, but as I've already said, for our options, we need this inventory organization. So I'm just doing it. So first I'm going to take this inventory information tab. So here we need to give our primary ledger. That is PL EBS. You can see as I've selected my primary ledger, legal entity is coming. You can also add your operating unit. So it's coming here. So all the three things are specified. Just save, say OK and OK. Save it and OK. Fine. So we have defined our accounting information. Just let's check it. So yeah, it's got saved properly. Now the next thing is go to others. And this inventory information, we need to fill the required fields here, because if we will not fill this required fields here, our inventory organization will not be created properly. So we want our inventory organization for our option setup. So we need to fill all this information. So basically, I'm using all this information from the already seeded vision operations item master. So I'm going to use this vision operation item master organization, which is already created, seeded in the application. So let's do it. Organization code. You can give any organization code. So what will happen? What organization code you are giving here? It will reflect our inventory organization during giving the payables option with this code only. So whatever code you want to give, you can give here. Sorry. I'm going to give EBS so that it's reflect with EBS, our inventory organization, or else you can give any like PPR or anything else. Now item master, I'm taking already seated one, that is vision operation. Add a calendar. which is so this was the all information which is required basically here. The mandatory fields are filled here. Now we will move to this costing information where we are going to give costing method here. It can be average fee fully for standard. I'm going to take standard here. Transfer to GL. I've set it as yes. Then the next is your account, variance account. So let's give the accounts here. Now after this, one more mandatory is this. So I'm just filling all the accounts, mandatory, non-mandatory, all the accounts here. We have taken the wrong account here. It should be 1430. Fine. And then the expense. Fine. So we have filled our costing information with all the accounts here. Now going to revision lot series tab. So starting revision, if you want to add anything here, you can add. All the things is automatically coming here in the mandatory fields because we have just used the item inventory of the vision operations, which is already created. So let's give here starting serial number, say as 01. Rest fields are all the mandatory fields are filled here. Now next, go to next tab. So let's give a rule here. Let's take standard one. We have taken the rules. Then if you want to enable anything here as per requirement, you can do. Okay, so all the fields are filled now. What are the requirement? Mandatory fields we have filled. So just save the work. And okay, so there is two more tab here and enter organization information and other accounts. So let's give the accounts here as well. If you want to specify, you can specify, or else this is not mandatory, so you can skip it also. And there is other accounts. These are mandatory ones. So let's quickly fill all the mandatory accounts here. Then invoice price variance. Inventory AP accrual. Take it as let's take any account for now, like sales revenue earned on unbilled, previously billed. Then cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold. Countless deferred cost of goods sold. So we have filled all the required mandatory fields. Just save it. So it's got saved. Now just close it. Close it. And let's just re-navigate to see all the work is saved properly. Go to others. Put accounting information first. That's displaying properly. Then let's go to inventory or information. Yes, everything is showing here properly. Our organization code and master and all everything is coming here. Fine. So this is how you need to create inventory organization. So basically, as we need to give as mandatory inventory organization in our payables option when we will go for payables option setting. So that's why we need to configure inventory organization here only for that purpose. Otherwise, this all the organization setup which we have just gone through is covered in the inventory module basically. So we have done with the inventory organization. So in today's sessions, we have seen first what is account payable, Then we have seen accounts payable process. Then we have seen that running of replicate seed data program. It is very important to run before setting up any subledger in your instance. Like if you are setting for AP or AR or any subledger module, you need to first run this replicate seed data program. Very important. So that why we run this, so that all the relevant so that all the seeded data from all the relevant modules are shared among all the or got integrated among all the modules. Fine. Then after that, we have seen how we can create a responsibility for AP and then assign the same to the user. And creating responsibility, the main thing which we should take care of is the menu. Menu should be proper one. All the access is given through menu only. Then we have assigned the same to user. Then we have also created profile options for a responsibility to our mandatory operating unit and GL data access set, nothing but the PL. Then the other three was option like default country, sequential numbering, and your secondary ledger. That is additional data access set. Then we have entered our employee. So for that, we have given the responsibility of sorry HRMS manager. Then we have created our employee user and given the same to the user page in the people field. Then after entering employee, we have also seen how we can define organization here. So this is very important that we need to define inventory organization. And for defining inventory organization, the user should have inventory related responsibility. So first user need to give inventory related responsibility, then the person can create its inventory organization. So we have covered this three, four things, very basic inertial setups. In our upcoming session, we will go with the further setups in the AP and then with our further topics there. So this was all for today. Thanks for joining.